Hey there, guys. It's Lena. Wednesday night, and I know I promised you guys that I was going to do another Khan Academy scope, but you do what you have the brain power for at the moment, right? So I did not have the brain power to walk through a whole Khan Academy setting up classes thing, so I was going to instead take a chance to just chit chat with you guys about the Breaking Busy challenge that Melanie had for us this week. So let me flip the camera around, and I will start that. Hello, friends. Hello, everybody. It's kind of dark in here. Hold on just a second. Let me turn on another light. Let me see if I can make this work better. Give me just a second. I'll be right back. I haven't left you. I'm coming. Don't go away. I am returning. Hello. Okay. Here I am. All right. Here's what I wanted to do. I wanted to talk about the Breaking Busy Challenge. I am really not good at tips and tricks. I'm really not good at, strategies. Follow these steps and you'll do great. There's a lot of people out there that are a lot better than I am at strategies. But what I am better at thinking about and talking about, not hearing me. Okay? Maybe if I get a little closer, can you hear me now? Anybody else hear me? You can hear me fine. Okay, I'm just going to keep going. Maybe on the replay it'll be better. Okay, what I'm better at is talking theory, philosophy. So what I wanted to do tonight is to talk about three kind of word pictures to help me think about one of the earlier scopes that I saw somebody do about the Breaking Busy Challenge was about priorities and setting priorities. And how setting her priorities really helped her, not to overwhelm the schedule, but to make decisions based on her priorities. So that's kind of where I'm going with this too. Three word pictures that help me to think about what it is I'm doing here in the home and the value that it has. Okay, so the first word picture is, and this isn't original to me, this is right out of the Bible, but body, right? So we are a body. And the reason that that's important is because it reminds us that no individual person is supposed to have their hand in all the pies at one time. That's the whole purpose of being a body, being a group where everybody's different and everybody has different gifts and different callings. And it frees us from feeling like, every time we see a need or every time we hear of a need or every time we hear about an opportunity that we need to become involved with that just because it's there and because somebody should be doing it. And I'll give you a little illustration of this. So I have a friend who is my age. She was in my wedding when I got married. We were good friends, went to high school together. And she is involved in a national ministry. She travels around. She's part of a singing like a worship team. They've recorded a couple of CDs, so she's a busy, busy gal. And a couple of months ago, she was in town. Her parents still live here in the town where I live. And so she came over. We hadn't seen each other for a long time, and so we were catching up. And there were two things that were really striking to both of us as we talked. One was that we both had the feeling about the other person, like, wow, she's really done a lot with her life. And I feel like I'm kind of behind the curve, right? So I'm looking at her in this ministry that she's a part of and all this traveling that she's done and all these people that she's had contact with. And I'm thinking, wow, she's really done big things. And she's looking at me thinking, wow, she's married and she's got these kids and she's homeschooling. Wow, she's really made so much progress in life. And I, wish I could do some of that. So it really reminded us that kind of the grass is always greener. Like we're always looking at other people thinking they're doing so much and not maybe seeing the importance of what we're doing. And of course, we were both able to encourage each other and remind each other about that. But just to be reminded that it's not so much about seeing all the patches of grass and making sure that they're all being taken care of, but it's more about finding our, the patch that we're in charge of and making sure that that patch is well cared for, right? So if we're a hand, we're taking care of the handy things. If we're a nose, we're taking care of the nosy things, right? Whatever is your thing. And I know that's not simple. It can be challenging to determine what your calling is, where's the sphere you're supposed to have influence. But if you're like me and you're in the phase of life where, you're a mommy, at home and you've still got little people, then I've got two more word pictures I want you to think about. So one of them is a fountain. So think about a fountain, like maybe even a chocolate fountain, like you might see at a wedding with several layers to it. So, the chocolate spills into the first layer. And then when the first layer is filled, the overflow goes to the second layer, and the overflow from the second layer goes to the third layer. And it's like that with our home. So a lot of times the energy that we're pouring into our home, and this is, with a chocolate fountain, this happens in a matter of moments. With a home, this happens over years, even decades, right? So we're pouring a lot of energy into what we're doing here at home with little people. And it might be taking a long time. It might be taking a long time to see that begin to spill over to, say, your church or your community. But, that time that we're investing in the beginning, and not just time that we're investing in, physically meeting the needs of our children and all that, but in, raising children who are, who feel well loved and who are emotionally stable children and who are comfortable and confident going beyond, their little spheres to serve others and that kind of thing, which, that takes years. You're not going to get a 2-year-old to that point. And so oftentimes it's slow. It takes a long time. It's slow in coming, but it's not the kind of work that you can shortcut. It's not the kind of thing, emotional development and relational development. It's not something you can do a quick program of. That time is essential. There's no shortcut for that. And so one of the ways that I've thought about that in my home is, and this is this third word picture is something that I use with my children. So we talk about a seesaw. And we talk about the seesaw has two sides. One side is called the needing help side, and the other side is called the giving help side. And everybody at every point is somewhere along that seesaw. And there's a seesaw for every group you're a part of. There's your family has a seesaw, your church, your, whatever organization you might be a part of, community. And so within that community, you're going to be at some point on that seesaw. So like when a baby's born, they're all the way on the needing help side because they need somebody to do everything for them. And they really can't contribute. They really can't give back at that point. And so like in our family, when we started out, Mommy and Daddy were on the giving help side, and all the children were at the opposite end, the needing help side, and our family was tipped more in the direction of the needing help. But the more that we work within our family and, every little skill that we work on, every little routine that we establish, every process that we're working on, the children are moving towards the giving help side, and now we have some 10, 11-year-olds who are, they're probably past the midpoint now. They're probably giving more than they, require from us, at least physically. And of course it's not this straight line thing, right? Like Mommy has a baby and all of a sudden Mommy's way back on the other end on the needing help side and the family is a little out of balance. And that's when, people from the church or friends in the neighborhood are bringing meals or grandparents are taking the kids or something because our family is kind of temporarily tipped in the other direction. Or, when all the children in the family are young, that's a family that needs more outside support to kind of outbalance that tip to the needing help side. But just in thinking of that idea, it really helps me to see kind of the bigger picture, the bigger purpose of the little things that I'm doing every day. So just the little, training the children to kind of see the next step, see what needs to be done next, look for ways to serve, see things that they can do in the household, just those little steps that we're making towards moving to the, to the other side of that kind of seesaw of the giving help side, that eventually our family would be more tipped, towards the giving help side. We would be able to efficiently, meet the needs of our household within our household and have excess. And that excess, going back to the fountain analogy, that excess would be able to overflow from our family to other, the church, other families, the community, whatever other needs there are. And so it helps me to remember that those things are important and that those things actually are part of the long-term goal of being well equipped to serve outside the four walls of our home. Because sometimes I feel like, I don't want to raise children who live in this box called our house all day long. And then they grow up and they move out and they have their own boxes where they homeschool their own children and raise their own children in these boxes. I mean, I want to homeschool my children, but with an outward focus. But I think sometimes the temptation is to rush that outward piece. And I'm not saying there isn't stuff we can do now. There are things we can do now, but sometimes we kind of short circuit that important foundational, developmental, relationship oriented, home focused foundation that's really crucial to being effective servants as they grow older. I mean, if I can invest that time now, if I feel like, okay, I'm wasted because I'm just stuck here with the children and I could be off doing this ministry or that Bible study or this whatever, I'm one person. So I could ditch the work on those 7 and go do this one thing, or I could, kind of take the slower, more gradual route to invest in these 7 now, who are then 7 individuals who then can go out and serve in many ways. And again, I'm not saying that there's no ways that we can serve now. I'm going to have an opportunity in the fall to teach a women's Bible study. I'm looking forward to that. So I'm not saying that we do nothing now, but it's just helped me to think about, even these little things that we do, these little processes that we set up, little skill training, little habit training. This is part of serving the community. It's a very long-term process, but this is part of equipping our family to be able to serve whatever in the church, in the community, and it takes continual reminding of that. It takes remembering exactly the big picture, and to remember that, we do this to ourselves with homeschooling, but we do it with, serving too. We hear little bits and pieces. This woman's doing this, and this woman's doing this, and this woman's doing this, and suddenly we have like this one giant snowball picture in our minds that's like, right, exactly. So you're multiplying yourself by 5, right? Just by the time you're investing with those, like you're taking yourself and multiplying by 5 by doing that. So, but we kind of develop this conglomerate image in our minds of this one woman who does all of these different things that we've heard various women do, right? So it's like there's this one woman out there who wakes up at 5 and has an exercise routine, has an hour of quiet study time, fixes the perfect breakfast, blah, 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 and goes and serves here and goes and serves there, and really that's silly. Nobody does all those things. Everybody does something. Everybody does little things, but nobody does all of those things. And so, we just have to think about, where's my little corner? And sometimes your little corner really is a very, very little corner. It really is like your children in your living room that you're working on, developing relationships with and habit training and preparing them to be a generation to serve in other ways, in bigger ways, and your role as a mom will change too as they get older and they need you less physically. But anyway, so those are my thoughts. Again, I'm not really good at the tips and the tricks and the strategies, but the talking and the thinking and the philosophy and the theories. Thank you, Betsy, for inviting your followers. And thanks y'all for the hearts too, behind why we're doing what we're doing. I think sometimes is just getting your head in the game is what's really crucial. Sure, thank you. And I look forward to seeing more of your scopes too, Kelly. It was good to see you on this morning. So, all right, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and I'll catch you around. Never can turn off the broadcast.